Local and live, covering Franklin and Washington counties, it's Let's Talk Tristate with Tiny and Katie.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Tristate, all powered by Home Right Windows and Doors in Waynesboro, the right choice winner in the 2024 Best of the Tri-State Awards. Now, here we have Frank Fowler with us, and Frank is the owner of Buchanan Trail Tire and Auto on Route 16 in Waynesboro, and maybe we get Buchanan Tire and Auto as Best of the Tri-State 2025.
Hopefully.
That'd be the goal, yeah?
That's the plan.
Well, welcome to Let's Talk Tri-State, Frank, first of all. You are the semi-recent owner of Buchanan Trail Tire and Auto.
Yep.
So what I always like to do with our guests on Let's Talk Tri-State is take us back through your history. Where'd you grow up? How'd you get into your area of expertise?
Yeah, so I actually grew up right down the road from the shop, maybe a mile or so. Okay. I drove past it every day, going to school, going to work. And my stepdad, I guess it starts with him. He's worked on cars forever. I've always been around him. My dad, mom, stuff, everyone's into him. They've been around him. But he's been a mechanic in the area forever. And he's always known Danny, who was the previous owner. And so that kind of, jumping into how I got in there, that's kind of how I got familiarized with Danny and with that shop specifically. But started working on cars in the garage with, my stepdad way back when as soon as I could walk, I pretty much had a wrench in my hand. So I was always familiar with it. Got my first job at a little shop out in, near Mont Alto. And then right up the road from the shop was my other job, all at a shop. And then eventually I went to career tech through high school. And that was great experience. I started wanting to go to, college I didn't know. But eventually I finally made my mind up to do the career tech thing. I went for the auto tech program. Did that and went co-op through Buchanan Auto Park out in Waynesboro, the other side, the Chrysler dealer. And did that for almost 3 years, a little over 2 years. And that was great. And eventually I just realized I wanted my own thing going on. I always did since I was a kid, And I heard about Danny and the situation where he was wanting to get out. But it was, great florist business and just kind of keep it going. And luckily worked out, got in there. And we've been doing it ever since.
There you go. Well, you got to love it when you can take over an already good business, established business, and just keep that reputation going.
Yeah.
Danny has been. I only know Danny, the previous owner, by way of my father-in-law. Who Danny's the only one who ever did his tires. Only one he'd ever let do his tires.
Yep.
So, and that's a guy who takes great pride in his vehicles. So that speaks volumes to Buchanan Trail Tire and Auto. Now, I understand tires in the name, but auto's in the name. So before we break into tires, which is the bread and butter, what else is offered as far as the auto goes?
Yeah, so we try and do just about everything we can. We don't get into heavily, internal engine work or heavy electrical diagnostic repair, but brakes, suspension, alignments, state inspections, pretty much anything bolt-on parts that you might need for your car. We deal with Fisher's, AutoZone, Napa, all the big guys for auto parts, tune-ups, things like that. We're not fully selling vehicles yet. I do every once in a while have one there for sale. We don't offer notary service or anything, but we do just about anything you need with your vehicle. And if we can't personally do it, we'll point you in the right direction that can.
And that's always important. I don't think people realize enough that when a reliable mechanic refers you to they're not going to refer you to somebody who's not going to take care of you.
Definitely.
And they know is going to do a good job.
Right.
And that's really important because you're one of those mechanics, you're one of those business owners when it deals with vehicles that knows the importance and the safety of riding all 4 tires on the road safely.
Oh, yeah.
And it all starts there from the ground up. So it's good to know that someone such as yourself is in a position to own a business where something so important, no more precious cargo than yourself, your children, your family members.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So let's go now to the transition to the tire part of everything.
Yeah.
This is, like I said, this is the bread and butter of Buchanan Trail Tire and Auto. Has been for years. By the way, I should have had you take a picture so we could include that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm going to say, don't
you?
What am I
Yeah.
going to say?
The snowman and Christmas tree, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
All the holiday decorations that you have, that's great.
That was a big team effort there. Someone sent me it a year ago, the idea, and it was right as soon as I bought it, so I didn't really have time to make it work. And then this year we did the parade, which was neat, and we had that as on our trailers or a little thing, and I just stuck it in front of the shop, so it's cool. Yeah, thank you.
So it's easy to know where the shop is for Frank and Buchanan Trail Tire and all because they have it's a snowman, Santa, and
there's a snowman and a Christmas tree.
Yep.
And then I've got candy canes that kind of Santa colored and stuff like that. So
gotcha.
yeah, yep.
Very good. I noticed the snowman and the Christmas tree.
Yeah, yep.
So we're in a season now where I think anyone who was not otherwise thinking about tires is probably thinking about tires. We're getting we're coming into the months where we get the ice and the snow.
Yeah.
Now, I absolutely hate driving in adverse conditions such as the snow and freezing rain and sleet.
Right.
I don't know anyone who actually enjoys it, but
yeah,
it's to the point where with me, I don't want to say anxiety, but I get the pit in my stomach. I'm not worried about me.
Right.
I'm not worried about hurting myself.
Yeah.
I'm worried about hurting someone else, ruining their property.
Right.
And obviously, if I have anyone with me, like my daughter, of course, same thing.
Oh, yeah.
But the question that I have for you is that does tire, and before I ask this, let me preface by saying this. I'm asking, the questions that I ask on Let's Talk Tri-State, they may seem so obvious. They may seem really easy. But I'm asking for the benefit of everyone watching.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because there may be some people who believe this.
Right.
How much does tire matter when it comes to ice and snow?
A lot. I mean, that's almost all of it. Almost all. Obviously, there's some other factors, but really, at the end of the day, that's what's connecting you, everything in your car. Like you said, your family, the vehicle itself to the road. Which is where you want to have your traction. If you don't have good tires on there, you're going to know it quick.
Right.
And it's, you don't realize sometimes how much you need them, like you were saying, until times like this time of year. They might be fine in the summer when it's dry, smooth asphalt, and even a little rain, but you get anything on that road surface, and if they're not where they should be, you'll notice. And
I also, our area, we get snow, and sometimes we get a lot of it.
Right.
But we don't get enough to chain the tires.
Right.
So,
correct.
Which offers you a great deal of traction, but that's more for, out west near the mountains, and, you see truckers always, chaining their tires because it's everyday conditions really in some of those areas. So we don't go that far around here usually.
Right.
So what can we do to make sure that our tires are well equipped, or at least as equipped as they should need to be to get us safely through the winter? What are some signs that we're looking for?
So the great thing is that almost any tire nowadays for most vehicles is going to be a standard all-season tire. That's what you hear, all-season radial. Mm-hmm. It didn't used to be that way. Back in the day, there wasn't quite that. They had bias ply tires. They had straight, summer per se tires, and then they had the winter tread, and it was more separated. Now, if you have a summer tire, it's going to be kind of hard, not hard to find, but it's not going to jump out at you. Like nowadays, anything that you see tire-wise is going to be a standard all-season, which means they're rated for, the summer, or they're rated for light snow, rain, which is great. As so far of looking for, like, what to look out for with your tires, obviously you're going to notice traction, braking. You got to keep following distance in any weather. But if you notice anything starting to slip, you go to pull out, your tires spin, something along that line. You go around a turn, you feel funny. Low air pressure sometimes normally doesn't mean tire tread per se, but it can depending on how bad it is. The great thing is, like I was saying, with so many tires being capable, it's not so hard to get. You don't have to spend a ton of money to get a good tire,
right?
Really. And they're coming out with a lot. Most brands are coming out with new styles of tire where they're like hybrids. So they're an all season, but they've got the 3-peak snow rating, so that they're qualified almost like a snow tire. They don't have that soft compound where they wear out quick like snow tires do, but they still perform better than a standard all season if you are concerned about heavier snowfall or just wanting the premium, in the sense of the weather. There's a lot of great options out there.
I know when we think of winter, we primarily focus on performance in the snow. Now, am I correct in what I've heard when it comes to ice? It's just kind of,
ice is tough.
Yeah, ice is tough.
It is. Now, we do still stud tires, studdable snow tires. That's something that is also kind of old school. It's kind of fallen off, but it's still very, very relevant in the sense of wanting to perform best on ice, especially if you're going to be running into ice. Now I know there's legalities around certain months, of the year, but any time it's cold like this, there's a chance of snow. I don't think you'd ever have an issue. But they are studded, so they're loud, they make noise, but they're not horrible, and they do great in the ice. Now there's also regular snow tires that are ice rated, some a little better than others, but at the end of the day, ice is ice, and it's tough. But yeah, studs are great. If you can, and if you're really worried about it, we do it. It's a service we offer. We don't do it a whole lot just because snow tires, themselves are so good, as well as the standard all seasons perform for most of what people need.
And when you say, I know what you mean by stud tires, but are you suggesting, are you saying that you take is it a tire that already has studs on it, or do you stud a tire?
Normally, you stud a tires. You can get them pre-studded. Okay. Very few brands do it, but you can. Most offer just, they've already got the holes in them, mm-hmm. and then we've got the machine that'll implant pretty much the metal studs in. Okay. To just barely stick out enough that will grab the ice and not really tear up the asphalt itself. But that is the concern, is why you can only run them, because they say they can harm the roads. Right. But they wear along down with the tire just like normal, but it's still enough to poke through to grab the ice. It's a pretty neat little process, but most people don't need it. But if you do and you're concerned about it, it is a service we offer.
And on the average car tire, how many, I find this fascinating, how many studs does it usually?
There's a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, we haven't done them really since last year, but there's you know how they have the tread blocks. Yeah, so there's almost 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 per tread block. I mean, heck, there's probably at least 100, I'd like to think, you know, in a tire around there.
Great.
And yeah, there's all different sizes, you know, cars, trucks. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing. You can get just about anything now you want. You can get an aggressive tire on a small car normally. So yeah, it all depends.
We're talking with Frank Fowler. He is with Buchanan Trail Tire and Auto, Route 16 in Waynesboro. He's the owner, actually. Let's talk about tire pressure for a second, if we could, Frank.
Yeah.
So this is the time of year where we often will find ourselves when we get in those really cold temperatures. And you've probably noticed this, you know, as you've gone the past few weeks. I know we had that cold snap a couple of weeks ago where it was down in the teens, you know, especially in the overnights. You get in your car, and most cars nowadays have the tire pressure sensors, and they let you know what's going on there. But we get those warnings that say tire pressure's low.
Yeah.
Typically what happens is, as you progress throughout the day, it warms up and they return back to normal. How urgent is it to correct that? When should we say, you know what, okay, this needs addressed?
Right. So ideally, your tires should always be where they need to be, you know, but these times of year make it hard. Most vehicles run around 35 pounds of air. Passenger cars, you know, light trucks, you get into the heavier stuff, they want a little more. But most vehicles want right around 35, anywhere from 30 to 40, but they do tend to drop 2, 3, 4. Once you get around to 5 pounds low, that's normally when the lights tend to go off. It varies by manufacturer, but, you know, as soon as that light comes on, if you go that day, you know, check them, make sure. Sometimes they tell you, like you said, they'll tell you the exact amount. And if it's just a couple pounds low, you're okay. You know, it's not, you don't need to stop everything and go get air. Ideally, yes, but you don't need to. Now, once you start dropping below, you know, 5 pounds, you're into the 20s, you're into, even if you're into teens especially, you know, that's going to affect the wear of the tire. That's why air pressure is so important. Mm-hmm. Obviously, ride, quality, you know, handling, but also the wear of the tire. If you run them too low, they're going to wear differently than if you need them where they're supposed to be, or if you run them too high, they're going to wear the centers out of the tire versus the edges being low. Yeah. So not super urgent if it's just a couple pounds like most are. Mm-hmm. And when it is, it's usually just simple as air pressure. You know, of course, cold weather's hard on everything. Those tire pressure sensors themselves, we have a tendency, we see them start to go out a little more often in the winter, which that's something else there. They're right in the tire at the valve stem. We carry them in stock. You know, that's something that's easier than most people think. Sometimes, you know, they think it's this big, you got to tear into the car. It's right. just attached to your valve stem, and you replace that, and normally that takes care of the issue if you have a sensor issue that's beyond just air pressure.
Now, do you offer, I'm assuming you offer balance, rotation, do you do alignments?
Yep. Okay. Yep, doing alignments now, and that's a great topic. Alignments never hurts to get it done. You don't necessarily need it every time you get tires, especially the best way to tell is to look at your old tires. Most people, they wear, most cars nowadays, they wear a little different than just smooth. They put a little camber in the cars to handle better, but they will wear an edge normally more than the others, and that's normal to an extent. But as long as you don't see anything crazy going on with the tire, and of course we check that for them, for the customers, and tell them if they're going to need one or not. But it's always good to get done because, you know, that affects, obviously you don't want to have to steer your car all around. You want it to you want it to be perfect, really.
Of course, yeah.
And that's the great thing about alignments is they really do help that. Now, another thing with alignments comes into suspension work. Once you get your new tires, you know, maybe you did have a weird wear pattern on your tire. You take it up on the alignment rack and you go to shake it down, put the heads on, and you got a ball joint that's loose or a tie rod that's loose, you know, control arm bushing. That all plays into the wear of the tires as well, because you could have that really, when you think the tire's straight, you know, it's really moving down there because it's got that joint that's loose. So you need to replace that before the alignment. But the good thing is doing the alignment tells you everything else that could possibly be causing an issue. And if you're spending, a couple $100 to $1,000 on tires, which depends on what you do, you will be. So you're going to want to take care of it for sure.
Do you handle ball joints and work like that?
Yep,
as well?
that suspension works great. I mean, the alignment rack is also my mechanical bay, so that's where all that work gets done. We've got a full-time technician. He's been great for us. Very, very intelligent guy.
So basically, if it affects the tire,
yes.
Wheels as well?
Oh, yeah. Custom wheels we can get.
Yep.
Factory wheels, we usually go through our secondary suppliers, but we can still point you there in that right direction. But, yeah, we've got 2 major aftermarket wheel distributors. We've got some really neat stuff, even some cheaper. So you'd be surprised how cheap wheels are. I mean, a lot of people come in with, of course, over time, the factory coating gets peeled off, gets looking kind of funny. Or even when you crack a wheel and you might think, well, it's going to cost me thousands of dollars. You can get cheap wheels sometimes, $200, $100, even $100 in the hundreds, $180 for a nice new set of aftermarket wheels. So, yeah, we do just about everything there.
Don't know unless you ask.
That's right.
So any specials right now that we should know about?
So pretty much we always try and have the best prices, of course. No major running deals in the sense of a holiday, things like that, but we're always willing to price match. We're always willing to get the best price you can. That's what we've always been about. Even Danny, on the business card it says bargain tire, center, and it sounds like we only sell cheap tires, but it's just the deals are so good.
Get you a bargain. If you
that's
can.
right.
Sure.
That's right.
Everyone wants to save some money, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, we've been talking with Frank Fowler, Buchanan Trail Tire and Auto, Route 16 in Waynesboro. Happy holidays, my friend.
Of course.
And I bet you that I'll be in touch with you because my truck has the slowest leaking tire I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'll fill it up and then I only use it to go to the dump, right?
Right.
And then within a couple of weeks, you'll see it every day. I go home, just down a little further,
Yep.
a little further. So
It will.
I'm going to need to get that taken care of, so I'm going to stop by and see you guys, okay?
Sounds great.
I encourage you to do that as well. So let's talk Tri-State, all powered by WellSpan, winner of American Hospital Association's Quest for Quality Award, online, wellspan.org.
Let's talk Tri-State.
If you'd like to be featured on an upcoming episode of Let's Talk Tri-State, call 717-597-9200 or email letstalk@921thegoat.com.